So I've come a cropper already, been over the handlebars once. Needless to say, I'm out of my depth, let's just say that much. So this is my gravel bike, and I built it up on the cheap a little while ago using parts from AliExpress and a few direct-to-consumer Chinese brands. It was great, but I never really felt like it was capable enough, and I've been kind of making upgrades to it ever since, chasing better off-road performance. 2 years later, here it is. I'll cover all the parts and the total cost for this thing at the end, but amongst other things, I've slapped on some new wheels, some 29x2 mountain bike tires, an electronic gravel group set, a suspension fork that I got on AliExpress for 90 quid, and a cheap oval chain ring. So yeah, massive gains on that last one, obviously. And here's the thing, right? I know a lot of people would say these upgrades are just completely stupid, and you could even argue it's more like a 90s mountain bike now, right? But just how capable is this thing with these upgrades? Can it actually rival a mountain bike? And are these cheaper Chinese parts even durable enough for anything off-road? Well, last week I flew to Spain and took this thing on some mountain bike trails to find out for myself. Yeah, stick around, this is a good one. My name, as always, is Luke, and welcome back to Trace Velo. All right, let's do this. So I've got to fit all of this inside that. Wish me luck. But yeah. Ciclismo. Yeah, that's the one. Lucky! Okay, cool. So the bike is all back together after being accosted by Rocky a couple of times in the process. But yeah, nothing was damaged in shipping, and yeah, it's all gone back together perfectly. So I think running tubeless was a bit stupid, to be honest with you. I should have just stuck with the inner tubes for this trip, but maybe I'll be thankful for it tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow, the rain has just started to come in. I think it's going to just rain overnight and then clear up in the morning, because I've only got 2 days here, so I need to make the most of it. But yeah, fingers crossed it's going to clear up tomorrow. But anyway, it's all ready to go, so I'll see you in the morning. All right, so I'm just finishing up brekking, having a look at this route. I think it's more of a mountain bike route. Yeah, maybe I've over-egged it, but one way to find out. So yeah, wish me luck. This could be interesting. And this is the thing that I found planning gravel routes with Strava, right? Sure, you can select the gravel ride option in their route building tool, but it's such a crapshoot. Like, is that gonna be a steep, rocky mountain bike track or a nice flat gravel trail? Unless you ride it, there's no real way to tell. But regardless, I did want to kind of push the capabilities of this machine anyway. And if I hit anything too technical, I had mountain bike tires and suspension. I was going to be fine, right? Well, let's figure it out. So I hit the road, and pretty much instantly I was reminded how slow mountain bike tires are on tarmac. When you're used to slick 25C tires, riding 29x2 mountain bike tires, which equates to 700x50C, yeah, you can certainly feel the difference in rolling resistance, especially at low pressures. So to give myself a fighting chance, I locked out the forks. So I've definitely overdressed this morning. I think I was influenced by the Spaniards of the household telling me it's really chilly. But it's like 14 degrees. I'm overdressed. Need to strip some of these layers off. It's ridiculous. So yeah, sweating a little on the climbs here. I mean, the bike isn't super heavy for a gravel bike. Just under 10 kilograms isn't bad, especially with suspension forks. But yeah, this bike with squishy tires and not exactly an efficient climbing machine. But anyway, I got to the trails. Okay, let's attempt
some of the rough stuff. It was still a little overcast, but the views were already looking pretty fantastic. Kind of a loose, sandy surface with some puddles and a few little undulations to deal with, but with a bit of suspension travel, really easygoing, suits the bike perfectly. However, I was sweating at this point, definitely overdressed, so pulled over and got some layers off. And that's exactly why I dress in a kind of modular fashion for rides like this. I pulled off my boot covers, leg warmers and gilet, much more comfortable. Right, so as we're taking a little pit stop here, I thought I'd cover some of the bits I'm slightly concerned about with this bike. So the first is the chain that I've chosen. So I may have mentioned it earlier, but I'm running this VG Sports chain here. I needed a new chain because the one I was running was worn out, and I just happened to have this just hanging about in the garage. I know they don't last very long, and the quick release links aren't the strongest things in the world, so there is a chance that could fail, because I've had one of these fail before. I bought a SRAM chain along with me as a backup, but not with me today, it's back at the house. So this is an inherent risk. And number two, this little problem here. So I've had to do a little bit of a kind of bodge fix on this rear derailleur for this electronic gravel group set from L2. And I explained what I'd done at the end of the review video. Part of this hanger here, part of it's broken, basically where the B adjustment screw interfaces with it, it's kind of snapped off. So I've had to use a kind of lock washer in between there to keep it secure and stop it swinging about. Rather than go into detail here, I think I'll do a bit of voiceover to kind of explain the fix. But yeah, that is an inherent risk as well. So yeah, not much to add really. A little piece of aluminium cracked off that interfaces with the B adjustment screw, and without it the derailleur swings around and it's pretty useless. It should look like this. An L2 actually sent me this replacement hanger, but I totally forgot to bring it. So yeah, it's locked in place with a lock washer like this. Works perfectly, and hopefully it'll hold. Anyway, I'm getting used to the bike here on these undulating sandy trails. You can carry a decent bit of speed actually. Really nice, really straightforward. But when I hit some rougher stuff, I accidentally left my camera on time-lapse mode. However, if I pause it, hopefully you can see the nice paths didn't really last very long, and pretty soon I hit some quite rocky tracks. The first thing that became apparent, my choice of pedals, maybe not the best. Okay, so this is what I would consider a gravel kind of track. So some of the stuff that I was doing back there was, well, it wasn't like difficult by any stretch, but I think with clipless pedals and these slightly longer cranks, I think I'm going to struggle on the mountain bike trails. Yeah, maybe this is the wrong equipment. We'll see. It might just be that my muscle memory wasn't quite there yet, getting in and out of the pedals at speed, but regardless, I did feel a bit uneasy around the tight technical corners when I'm kind of stood up out of the saddle, yeah, especially on the steeper parts of the trail. But look, I'm on the edge of balance anyway around a lot of these slow, tight corners. I'm being locked into the bike. Yeah, it was slightly unnerving, especially because on a gravel bike, you generally have a higher riding position, so higher center of gravity, and a shorter wheelbase than compared to an equivalent mountain bike. So not ideal for kind of slow, technical riding. But yeah, I'm about 2 hours in at this point, and doubts were already coming to the surface. So yeah, doubts are creeping in, but I just cracked on and tried to make the best of it. I figured the more technical stuff might be behind me at this point, but that assumption was incorrect. Okay, so maybe I'm being a massive wuss, but like, it's stuff like this. Like, how am I supposed to cope with that? I mean, look, tiny little trails in between the boulders, no room for pet. I mean, I don't know how you mountain bikers do it, but this setup, definitely not the right approach. I don't really want to try it. It kind of looks like it'll end an injury. I could go up. All right, maybe I'll give it a go. I can see mountain bike tracks in the mud taunting me. Right, I'm gonna go for it. Let me put this camera away. So again, I left the camera in time-lapse mode, but I did make it. I managed to choose a line and avoid pedal strike. But yeah, slower technical riding on clipless pedals, it was just unnerving. Maybe it was my lack of confidence, and as blasphemous as this seems, coming from a road biker, I think I would have been much more comfortable with flat pedals. So you like try and pick a route, right? So pedal strike on those two. Come through here, that's fine. Pedal strike on that one, or that one. Yeah, this is a bit too hairy for me. So I feel like I'm gonna get absolutely ripped to shreds by the mountain bikers in the comments, right? Because this stuff is easy. It's so tame, right? It's like a green, but on this gravel bike, some of these bits feel like a double diamond black, just like trying to avoid massive rocks while
Not coming a cropper with the pedals, yeah. Newfound respect for mountain bikers, honestly. There goes one in the distance. A real mountain biker. I feel like an imposter.
Anyway, for the next 10 minutes or so, the route thankfully eased up and I was having a wicked time. The chunky tyres gave me plenty of confidence on the loose sandy dirt. The suspension, even with just 40mm of travel, really smoothed out a lot of the ruts on the road and the group set was performing really nicely. I found my way to a lookout point and the views, yeah, they were pretty incredible. With the sun coming out, you could see the financial district of Madrid about 30 kilometers away, so yeah, pretty cool. Also, I'm not surprised, but turns out I bottomed out the suspension at some point that morning, but it certainly won't be the only time that happens this trip, that's for sure. Anyway, getting down off this plateau, the nice gentle trails didn't really last. Not to say it wasn't super good fun, but it did feel pretty sketchy at times.
Oh, come on. This is ridiculous. I'm gonna fall off, definitely. And this corner. Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh my god. Hey. Look at that. On the video. Can hear that suspension working. Don't get cocky. Don't get cocky. Oh my god. Oh my god. No, I can't do that. This is the kind of stuff I'm not equipped. I'm not equipped to do this. Look at that. It's like a narrow little valley. I mean, maybe it doesn't look like it, but it's only about 4 foot wide. Oh god. Yeah, no, I think I've got a tarmac. Okay, I just came a cropper. Leaning back. You gotta lean back, right? Oh, right. It was only a matter of time. So here's where I came a cropper. I'll try and walk down. So, big drop there. Just hit that and went over. I guess if I had more travel in the forks, that wouldn't have happened. I've bought the wrong bike. Okay, this is too much. Even for me, a seasoned professional, this is too much. So yeah, first tumble of the day, but it will not be the last one. Definitely the wrong bike for this type of terrain. I'm too high up and I can't get my weight back far enough because the saddle's too high and I can't drop it out of the way with the dropper seat post. Still, I struggled on, but I did end up getting off the bike a number of times to just walk it. There's no shame in walking. It's part of being a mountain biker, right? This is all part of the process. Part of the joys of the ride.
So yeah, I sound a bit kind of frustrated in these clips. There were just parts that were too much, and I think my tumble took the edge off my confidence a bit, but still, it felt like obstacle after obstacle. Bits of the route were nice, but I just couldn't get into a rhythm on the bike. It was very stop-start. And yeah, the second half of the morning was honestly a bit of a grind.
This is just a hiking route. This is far. It's not. Look, there's mountain bike tracks there. Maybe they walked it. You never know. Right, let's try this one. Oh, that's not too bad. Don't slip, don't slip. Oh, another drop. Lean back. Oh my god. Oh, I impacted the rock with my head. Oh my god. Oh, this is so ridiculous. I think this is one of the most ridiculous routes that I've ever been on, or that maybe I've been the least prepared for. Is it lunchtime yet?
Yeah, it was time for some lunch.
Crikey. Right, welcome everybody to today's segment, Reflection and Ham-On with Trace Fellow. So, yeah, the bike on the flats, absolutely amazing. No notes at all. Loved it. On literally anything else, yeah, not fantastic. I've got the wrong pedals. The cranks are too long. The brakes overheat incredibly quickly because I've got skeletonized disc rotors. My tires aren't chunky enough. I don't have a low enough gear, so I need a smaller chainring. And also the suspension bottoms out on anything more than a 3-inch drop. So, couple of little notes there. But look, this is absolutely the wrong bike for this type of terrain. On the nice little flat gravelly roads, it's so nice. And that bit of travel in the suspension at the front helps just soak up any big ruts and rocks in the road. So it adds capability in that sense. But for anything else that can be considered a mountain bike trail, it's just not enough. I feel like having the suspension on there and these slightly chunkier tires than a gravel bike would normally run just gave me a false sense of performance and capability
for this machine. So completely my fault. This is a fantastic gravel bike. That does not make it a mountain bike. So that morning, safe to say, I found the limitations of this thing, right? Parts of the route were lovely, other parts, well, they were basically impossible, at least for me and my skill level. However, I was reflecting over lunch. No, this isn't a mountain bike, and I'll admit at times I was getting quite frustrated along the way, but this is a gravel bike, right? Considering the route I took and the punishment I threw at this thing, I reckon it did phenomenally well. Actually, still, for the route back, I did want something a bit different. So for that afternoon, I decided to take it a bit easier and tweaked the route slightly. It wasn't perfect, but I felt much more comfortable on the bike. I feel like I'm getting in a bit of a flow now, actually. Like, it's all about picking a line and just trying to carry a bit of speed and keeping control. So yeah, hopefully it kind of stays more gravelly and not too extreme. But yeah, I've really gotten a flow this afternoon. However, despite my best efforts, there were still a few bits that I had to get off the bike for. Yeah, no. There we go, look at that, techers! Woohoo! There are hundreds of vultures circling. Maybe this is an omen. Maybe it's a sign that today was cursed from the start. Or maybe they're just vultures. So look, like I mentioned, I kind of figured this route would be too much for the bike. And I'll be honest, I'm not a mountain biker. I do trails occasionally when I rent mountain bikes, but maybe my bike handling isn't the best on this more technical stuff. But still, I was really impressed with the bike. So the first half was just too much, and I had the bruises and scrapes to prove it. But the more rutted paths with like big tree roots and rocks everywhere wasn't a problem at all, really. I was giving it absolute welly on some of the downhill parts too. And the suspension soaked everything up, and those chunky tyres provided loads of grip on the loose, sandy track. A regular gravel bike may have been able to tackle it, but with 38C tyres and a solid fork, I would have been shaken to pieces. So I was staying at my friend Ollie's place, and he decided to join me for day 2. He's got a bike somewhat similar to what I probably should have had yesterday, to be honest. A Rock Rider e-mountain bike from Decathlon. It's this one here. Much chunkier tyres, wider wheelbase, 120mm of suspension travel rather than 40. And yeah, it's electric. Also, we're staying, although they featured twice now, I am not sponsored by Decathlon. Kind of wish I was. But here we are. His mother-in-law bought him this bike so he could cycle to the shops. So yeah, bit of context for you. Now, today's route was found by Ollie. It starts in a small town called Cercedia, about a 30-minute train ride away. The original version came from this site, Wikiloc, and was selected back when I was naive and full of confidence. But no, judging from yesterday's performance, it was probably going to be too much, especially with this descent here. So we tweaked it slightly to stay on the main track up the mountain. It's still listed as a mountain bike trail, but it should be much more manageable. So let's hit it. Absolutely gorgeous day today, but quite chilly actually, 10 or 11 degrees C, and a bit of cloud cover further up. We're going to be going up to about 1,800 meters, so hopefully things will warm up later on. However, first stop of the day at the station, café con leche e bocadillo. So coffee and a sandwich.
Live ham morning.
Live ham morning. And we are off. We're essentially riding up a mountain today, so climbs are a bit of a theme for the first half. Ollie wasting absolutely no time rubbing his electric dominance in my face. But even though some of these climbs were tough, it did give me a chance to shift this EGR group set under power. Slightly crunchy, obviously, but no real trouble. And so far, 0 misshifts, 0 drop chains. Yeah, this group set was performing so well. Really impressive. However, Ollie was slightly concerned about his battery percentage. 97%. Oh, 3% down. But regardless, we pressed on. Right, so quick pit stop. We're like 2k in, and what, you're 10% down on battery? 10% down on battery already. So, yeah, this could be interesting. Anyway, while we stopped, I wanted to quickly show you. This is the kind of road we're on, and I think a regular gravel bike would really struggle on this actually, and I know it won't look like much on the kind of Insta360 camera I've got on. But actually the rocks are quite sort of sharp and jagged. If you're on a solid fork with like 38C tyres, something like that, I think you'd just be jostled to hell. So yeah, while the suspension travel isn't much and the chunky tyres aren't massive, I'm really, really grateful for these today. So yeah, I think a regular gravel bike would definitely struggle on paths like this. So glad to have that stuff today. So as we eased up the mountain, the sun was out, the bike was performing really well, and yeah, I was enjoying every second. It ate up the rocky cobbled road through the forest, so much so that I was riding one-handed, holding the camera. Definitely couldn't do that yesterday. We switched onto a road, so I locked out the forks again, and yeah, got to it. Everything about today was just much more chill and enjoyable. It suited the bike perfectly. So naturally, we stopped for a brief history lesson from the maestro himself. Right, ruta ciclista.
Yeah, so we're doing the Carretera de la República, which the Republic built in the 1930s, so the people would have access to the mountains, not just the wealthy. So it's this road that goes right to the top to this pass called Fuenfría, but we are just over 1,400 meters now, and we're up to Puerto La Fuenfría, just about 1,800 meters.
What percentage you on?
I'm on 81.
81, oh
81.
my god. Oh my god.
I went on level 2 for a bit on that one.
Level 2, that's a mistake. Yeah. Right. Let's crack on. So we smashed up the mountain road for a few miles. It was a lovely gravel track through the trees. I was dishing out high fives to school kids on the way as well, which was cool. Vámonos! Vámonos! Never felt so motivated in all my life. Gracias. That's sick. But yeah, eventually we pulled up to Poet's Viewpoint, and the views were absolutely phenomenal. You could see for miles. We'd only done about 10k at this point, but it had been quite a climb, so we took a few minutes to have a chat and smash that bocadillo. Also, if you fancy the look of any of the gear that I'm wearing, check out my sponsor Siroko. On rides like this, where the temperature is so changeable, as mentioned earlier, I try and dress in a modular way. So pick up your basics like bib shorts and a jersey. This long sleeve thermal one is incredible, and supplement with leg warmers, neck scarf and a gilet or cycle vest. You can add or remove layers as required, and they pack up super small when you don't need them. So yeah, I'll stick my discount link in the description. It'll get you 10% off everything, and anything you buy helps me out loads with the channel too, which is really cool. Anyway, let's get back to it. So we finished up at the viewpoint and headed the rest of the way up. It was honestly incredible. Weaving through a forested trail up a mountain with the sun out. I mean, yeah, I definitely wasn't complaining. Although Ollie, at this point, was regretting his lack of padded shorts.
Your bum must be sore.
Now, that aside, for the majority of this route actually, the road surface was just a really clean, smooth gravel path. If anything, my bike was too capable for this stuff. A regular gravel bike would have been right at home, but it was nice to know that if the road got a bit rougher like it was at the bottom, it wouldn't have been a problem. But anyway, look at these views. Absolutely mental. This is why I struggled up the climb and was so desperate to get up here. Really, really gorgeous. Now, a few minutes later, we reached the top, grabbed a bit of grub, had a breather, and got set for the descent. Yeah, this bit was fun, trust me.
Give it to me.
So look, without question, I found the limits of this machine, right? Full-on mountain bike trails are too much. The riding position's too high, the wheelbase is too short, the lowest gear isn't low enough, I need more suspension travel, and a dropper seat post wouldn't go amiss either. But as the miles wore on, far from getting frustrated about the lack of capability, I came to really appreciate exactly what this Frankenstein bike offers. So look, gravel bikes are wicked. don't get me wrong. However, and this might be a bit controversial, I suppose, so let me know or not if you agree in the comments, but I've always felt like traditional gravel bikes stick a little bit too close to the road bike spectrum in terms of their kind of design and their capability. Like, once you get off the tarmac, their use case can be quite narrow, I found. Like, yeah, tackle a gentle forest trail or maybe a canal path, but tackling anything that can be considered mildly off-road for any substantial distance, I found it can be quite unpleasant. Like, you're just shaken to pieces, or at least that's what I found anyway. In the media, gravel bikes have always been touted as the middle ground between road bikes and mountain bikes. I've never really felt like that's the case. However, with these upgrades, I legitimately think this bike sits directly in the middle between road and mountain. You can lock out the forks and still absolutely hoon it like a regular road bike. It still feels nice and agile, and in fact, on the way down to the train station in Cercedia on this thing, I hit nearly 50 miles an hour, but if you come across a rougher trail, you're not going to be thrashed to hell and shaken all over the place. And I don't even think you need mountain bike tyres for that, although they do help, but regular 45C gravel tyres would be fine. It's the suspension fork here that really makes the difference, and that thing was 90 quid from AliExpress. So I'll put the video I've done on those in the description down below, along with the seller on AliExpress that I used as well. But what about everything else, right? Apart from the tyres and the saddle, which are from Continental and Specialized, respectively, everything else is either from AliExpress or a direct-to-consumer Chinese brand. Well, it was all fine. Like, I threw the bike around, fell over a couple of times, crashed it into some rocks, and unfortunately, I didn't get it on video, but I was trying to get a thumbnail picture, so propped the bike up on this boulder, and just after this picture was taken, the wind caught it and it fell directly off the back of that boulder about 6 feet down onto another boulder, and yeah, it was totally fine, no issue. So just because this stuff comes from China doesn't mean it's crummy, fragile crap, is kind of what I'm trying to say. And on that note, I've got to give it up to the L2 EGR group set I was running. Phenomenal, perfect shifting, I could shift under power, and there was really limited chain slap as well because of the clutch mechanism in the rear derailleur. So yeah, really enjoyed using that, and that kind of fix I did with the lock washer held perfectly, which was cool. The brakes. Now, I know I said earlier they overheat, but I think they may have just been contaminated, because on the second day, heading down the mountain, I purposely held the brakes on, like dragging them, trying to get them to overheat, and only just managed it. So all things considered, really impressed with the braking too. Now, the one part that did not fare very well, surprise, surprise, it was the chain. So like I mentioned, it's from a brand called VG Sports that you can find on AliExpress. I've covered them in the past, I wasn't impressed then, but I had this brand new one hanging around the garage, so I figured I'd slap it on and give it another go. After just 70 miles, it's already stretched. Like, it easily fails the 0.5 wear test, which for an 11-speed chain means it needs to be replaced. Like, that amount of wear in such a short time, absolutely dreadful. So yeah, steer clear, get a decent chain. But anyway, there we go, love this thing, but maybe I should just bite the freaking bullet and get a mountain bike, finally. Yeah, let me know in the comments. And lastly, huge thank you to Ollie and his family for letting me crash at their house. Really enjoyed it. You made me feel so welcome. So yeah, love you guys so much. It was wicked. Right, anyway, subscribe if you like this kind of thing. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this episode, and yeah, leave me a comment chastising me for ruining this perfectly good gravel bike. And I will see you next time. Right, ciao, ciao.
It's the bonus clip time.
Right, so as promised, the final cost and parts list for this thing behind me. So I'll stick it up on screen. And after totting it up, it's come out a little bit more expensive than I thought it would, actually. So to build this thing up would cost about 2,350 quid. And if we have a look on Canyon, an equivalent bike from them, their, what is it, the Grizzle CF SL7 Trail. Yeah, so similar because it's got an electronic gravel group set, suspension forks, and it's a similar weight actually as well, at just over 10 kilos. That thing you can pick up for 3 grand. So this thing comes in a lot cheaper, but still at 2,350, yeah, a bit more than I thought it was actually. And the reason for that is primarily these wheels here. Now, I've done a video on these and they are really good, but they are undeniably very expensive at about 900 quid. So if you were to replace these with a more standard gravel wheel set with a carbon rim and normal spokes, you could probably drop like 400 quid off the price of this. So get it just under 2 grand. But yeah, there we go. Let me know what you think and I will see you next time. Right, ciao.